What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt. So I wanted to talk about something that's been on a lot of people's minds lately, okay? Canada's inflation rate. Now, I know inflation is definitely not the most exciting topic, right, in the real estate mortgage world, but it's definitely one that affects all of us. And it's something that I'm trying to keep our eyes on, especially in the real estate market or as we're analyzing the economy. And I think whether we're talking about the cost of groceries, gas, or housing, it's important to keep up to date on it, right? So let's look at what's been happening. So in July, Canada's annual inflation rate dropped to 2.5%. Okay, so this is significant because it's the slowest pace that we've seen in over 3 years. Okay, so to give you some context, inflation is basically a measure of how quickly prices are rising across the board. Okay, so when inflation slows down, it means that prices of goods and services aren't increasing as fast as they were before. Okay, and this is a relief for a lot of us, right? Trying to manage budgets, the amount of money we're spending on different things. If they aren't going up as fast, then it's better for us as consumers. But this drop in inflation actually didn't come out of nowhere. So economists had been predicting it. Statistics Canada confirmed that the inflation rate cooled for the 7th month in a row. So that's a pretty strong trend, okay? It's actually the lowest level we've seen since March of 2021. But while the overall inflation rate dipped, there's still a slight increase from June to July of about 0.4%. So while things are definitely moving in the right direction, it's not like the pressure has completely eased up. And the big reason behind this cooling inflation is definitely the drop in shelter costs, okay? In June, the shelter costs were up by 6.2%, but by July, they had fallen to 5.7%. Now, this might not seem like a huge drop, but when you think about how much we spend on housing, even a small change can make a really big difference, okay? So shelter costs include things like rent and mortgage payments, which are some of the biggest expenses for people, probably the biggest, okay? And while the rate of increase has slowed, the costs themselves are still pretty high. We all can feel that. For example, the cost of servicing a mortgage has spiked by 21% from July 2023 to July 2024. So over that year period, that's a massive increase. And it's putting a lot of pressure on homeowners and those trying to buy a home. And rent isn't much better, with prices across the country being 8.5% higher than they were a year ago, okay? That rent inflation is huge, okay? And I saw a chart on Twitter by, what's his name? Table Salt. This guy named Table Salt on Twitter. You got to check him out. He's really good. Posts these great, he tweets all the time about statistics on the economy in Canada, housing. He does some political stuff as well and good political commentary, I think, but really good account to follow. Now, why is this drop in inflation so important? Okay, it's because it's bringing us closer to that Bank of Canada target rate of 2%, right? We're in that target range, but now we're getting really close to 2%. And the Bank of Canada has been working hard, in their words, to get inflation under control, because when inflation is too high, it can hurt the economy and it can make life a lot more challenging to everyone, which is true, okay? And last year, inflation hit a 39-year high of 8.1%, okay? So that's the highest it's been since the early 1980s. So the fact that we've now gone from 8.1 to 2.5, it's actually a very big deal. And so looking ahead, there's a lot of talk about what the Bank of Canada is going to do next, okay? They've already cut interest rates by 25 basis points in each of their last 2 announcements. And with inflation continuing to cool, there's a strong possibility that they'll announce another rate cut on September 4th, which is the next announcement, okay? Coming up in a couple of weeks here. And if they do go ahead with another cut, it could make borrowing even cheaper, which would be a welcome relief for a lot of people, especially those with the variable rate mortgages, with lines of credit. All those things will be affected. And as always, there's another side to this story, right? So lower interest rates might help ease some financial pressure, but we're still dealing with the high mortgage interest costs and rising rents, which are hitting people really hard right now, especially in cities where housing is already so expensive. So, what's the bottom line of this? Okay, that inflation is now coming down. We're close to 2%. While it's great to see that cooling off, we're still feeling the effects of high costs in a lot of areas. And it's a bit of a mixed bag, so it'll be interesting to see how things play out over the next few months. And I'll be keeping you guys up to date on that information, on these important economic developments in Canada in regards to real estate, in regards to mortgages. I think we're on the right track, but I do think there's so much more work to be done, right? Okay, inflation's lower, but think about how expensive everything is still. Like, everything is nuts. It's crazy out there. So, you'll see this touted, and, it'll come out of government and Bank of Canada's mouth as this is like a great thing and they're happy and look at all the great work we're doing. But the fact that we're in the state that we are in the country, it's just so bad. Like, things are so expensive. Housing, food, gas, like it's bananas. Everything is too much and too expensive. And I think, the next year and a half is going to be so interesting. I'm going to be keeping you guys up to date on everything. So if you guys really like the video, please like it. It helps me push these videos out to a new audience who might really benefit from the information. And, I'd love to keep the conversation going. If you guys have any questions, if you want to reach out to me directly, all my information will be down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.